So,
I like turtle.
without any further ado, I nominate Dayvid Figler to go first.
I don't really want to go. I can go first. I'll go first. I'll go first.
I'm sorry. There's been a change in the program. The part of Dayvid Figler will be, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Bondi.
We could just keep doing this all night.
Yeah. The part of Dayvid Figler will be played by his
Tony Bondi.
understudy. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah.
Hey.
Will be played by Geoff Carter, who will be opening this very festive. And doesn't this feel festive?
Make festive sounds.
This festive holiday program. It's kind of like a goth Christmas, isn't it?
Where's the party people? We'll get you into it.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Geoff Carter.
Put it down with the water. Okay. I'm looking out tonight. I'm seeing a whole hell of a lot of people I don't know, so let me explain myself real quick. 5 years ago, I not only used to read poetry in coffee houses, I used to run a poetry reading, as did these two other characters. And I quit. And I quit flatly. Upon quitting running the reading, I quit reading my stuff in public, and now it's come down to the point where I only read here, and badly. So, I pin a lot on this day of the year. The last two readings, I wrote pieces several weeks in advance, revised them, showed them to friends, revised them again, and as a result, I don't think I've been happy with anything I've read at the last two readings. Nobody heard what I read the last two readings. I was at a freaking bar. Nobody could hear anything. So I figured this year I would go back to the books. This is, I write about, arguably about 5,000 words a week at work, and then I come home and I write more stuff in these books, and this is the stuff that a lot of times I feel good about. I don't always feel good about the work stuff, though I'm nonetheless proud of it. My company has a blimp.
That's no way to talk about your general manager.
He's gonna kick your ass. So I'm going to start off with, wait a minute, there you go. A little thingy out here. A piece I wrote, and this is the only poem or something resembling a poem I'm going to read tonight, about speaking in front of people and the abject terror it inspires in me. It's called Coat of Legs because I didn't know what else to call it. This is my piece about fear. I'm afraid to talk in front of a crowd. Wasn't always so. Once I could talk leaves off trees and such. I lost the knack some 5 years ago. I stopped reading my poetry in front of people, and in doing so rendered myself a nervous introvert at poetry readings anyhow. So here I am, a storyteller afraid to tell his story. Now, in a manner not unbecoming a fool, I write this piece meant to be read aloud, but I'll never read it. And next is a little narrative inspired by the NASCAR truck rally. The whole circle round. Went to a NASCAR truck race tonight. It was a free ticket, and I'd never seen a NASCAR truck gig before and probably never will again. Anyway, the trucks whipped around the track at 150 miles per hour or so, pushing each other around, riding each other's wake. It was more than a little monotonous. In gentle feelings to the contrary, I found myself wishing for a good, solid pile-up. Shortly after the sun set, the moon rose from the jagged rocks, fattened, orange, beautiful. It was probably the most beautiful harvest moon I've ever seen. And everyone around me, everyone, stopped watching the race and turned their attention to the moon. We regarded it with quiet awe as one regards a disrobed lover. Bullied by the sound of race engines and hemmed in by brick and glass, we bared our souls and ourselves to the moon. Then it was gone. Not the moon, it is above me even now in the Boston's parking lot, but the moon love. The engines reasserted themselves and we went back to being savants. It is the closest I've come in recent weeks to touching my own soul again. Some beautiful moon it is. Who won? I don't know, some guy in a fucking truck. All right. I got a travel log for you. I did 2 weeks and 2 days in Thailand and filled up this book with my experiences, just writing and writing and writing and writing while I was laid up in bed hungover. And I'm lying, I didn't really get drunk. Nobody could get, we tried to get drunk. I think it's because we were too close to sea level. This one's called Jump Like a Bunny, and again, it was out of want of a better title. We wandered around Phuket town like rogue cats, looking for a restaurant that we knew only as May Porn. Dina was leading with the map, Brian was quoting the Lonely Planet Guide, and I was wondering, absently, what sort of nasty, horrible things could happen to American tourists lost in the streets of Phuket town at 10 p.m. Roughly around the time we found one of Brian's Lonely Planet joints padlocked for the night, we found a movie theater. On its marquee, a poster, which was hand-painted with Asianized faces, for the Blair Witch Project. And I looked over at Dina, who was still clutching that map, which I should have kicked in the river. And I laughed hard. Immediately after, we found a little tiki-roofed open-air joint that served cold Singha beer and green curry and showed American reality shows. But none of that is important today here on the beach at PP Island. Our hotel, PP Cabana, is one of a dozen on the beach of a wide cove. On my right, a high rocky hill covered in lush green vegetation. To my left, it levels off a bit. There are some 30 boats, sailboats, motorized launches, Thai longboats, anchored in the cove. The sand is near white, the water almost glass clear, and there's a coconut tree over my head. It's a full-blown resort, in other words, which leads me back to my only problem with the place. It's packed with Westerners, Australians, Americans, white faces. I know that I loved Bangkok not because of its otherness, but because of the Thai people themselves. They are beautiful people, proud, content, seemingly ageless. Coming around white faces again was a shock. I had a dream that I'd married a Thai girl. She had small eyes. Fortune teller Mr. Hong predicted that I'd marry a girl with small eyes and have 3 children. He also predicted that I was supposed to do it 5 years ago. So here I am on the beach listening to Kula Shaker and trying to soak up my first hand in some 20 years. I am content. I've had 3 massages in this country. Thai massage is a close quarters thing, not for the ticklish or modest. 2 things I've always been, so getting 3 of these things must mean I really love them. The massage I got last night from an elderly Thai woman some 300 feet from here was wonderful, just what I needed. I almost fell asleep over the course of it. The second was a bit rougher, but more interesting. The 20-something woman that gave it to me was obsessed with American culture as I am with Thai. She named off a stable of favorite Yankee film stars, Julia Roberts, Tom Cruise, Bruce Willis. Die Hard, she said, with more love than I've ever heard accorded that title stateside. And she claimed to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken once a week. Now, explain to me, I said, how it is that you can eat Kentucky Fried Chicken once a week and look so good, whereas I eat it there once a year and look like hell. I do this, she smiled and bent me in half. She was also the one who taught me a few Thai phrases. Whenever I used one of them successfully, like a sabai for are you okay, she would laugh and say, "You a genius." Speaking of, I just met a Vancouver couple down by the pool, Duncan and Raquel. We spoke for a good half hour to 40 minutes about Bryan Adams, Bill Gates, travel, Bryan Adams. At the end of the conversation, they asked me a strange question. Have you got a high IQ? I shrugged, made a so-so sign with my hand. I honestly did not know how to respond. Maybe. Bangkok has traffic, bad, the worst, sit at a standstill for hours, bad. They have an overhead train, but it won't open till December, and my friend Mio says most Thais won't take it anyway. Cars have become a status symbol, just like at home. The Thais love pizza. Masseuse number 2 asked me if pizza was an Italian invention or an American invention. The Italians invented it, but the Americans popularized it, I told her. Ah, she shrugged, or did something like shrugging. The Thai people are beautifully subtle. I thought the Americans invented it. Nearly. I've eaten from several roadside food carts, but have not drank the local tap water once, not even to brush my teeth. Phuket has open sewers. They smell just like you'd think they'd smell. In fact, Thailand is a country of smells, good alternating with not so good. I don't think I've employed my olfactory sense quite as much in my lifetime as I have since last Saturday night, Blair Witch Project night. I won't be the same person when I go home. Everyone told me it would be so, and I believe them, but feeling the gravity of change for oneself is something else entirely. Today I looked at a rainbow over the beach and made a wish. It's a silly, childish thing to do, but I did it anyway. I asked the prism for the strength and conviction to change my life for the better, to use this cathartic feeling to its fullest possible advantage. It seemed a fair thing to wish for. Just a wee bit sunburned today, mostly on the feet. Why didn't I think to apply lotion there? My face is slightly pink, but does not sting. Beaches, I've spent an awful lot of time on them, but this marks the first time in a long time that I've spent an entire day on one. Stinky pinkness aside, the experience was good. I floated on my back in the Andaman. I've never been able to float on my back before. Another first for Thailand. Hell, I'm just happy not to be the whitest, fattest man on the beach. Though I may be the hairiest, I could have sworn I heard some Japanese men call me Jungle Boy. I wish my IQ were higher, now that you mention it. I'd love to be able to solve algorithms and leave $10 words lying around. Then again, I'm having enough fun as a mid-level intellectual. If I were any smarter than this, I'd probably do many, many more dumb things purely out of spite. Besides, everyone thinks I'm smart. That's almost the same thing. You a genius, said my second ever masseuse. I should have married her. And now, this next wise guy, you may have seen his name in the paper once, several years ago, back when he was a slam poet of note. Now he works purely as a civic servant and appears on arts and entertainment television. Ladies and gentlemen, the fabulously sexy Mr. Dayvid Figler.
You are as beautiful as the moon, I told her. Which moon? She said back, steeped in suspicion. Fair enough question. As she turned back to the knobs and wires of the control panel. Can love bloom 888.6 million miles from the sun on the first human colony on Saturn? We'll follow the adventures of Marvin Mendelssohn as he truly and literally proposes a universal question in Izzy Fizler's Saturnalia. just a side note. Izzy Figler is I'm not really sure because I don't have a lot of background on him, a writer, a playwright. And what I'm about to do is a piece from one of his plays called Saturnalia. Now this is a piece that has been making the circles in high school theater competitions for the last few years. It always does very, very poorly. But I was at a high school recently doing a lecture, as I often do, on law and legal ethics and criminal defense and whatnot. And some kids came up afterwards, and they were theater kids, and I noticed that they had it, and I was curious, and you could have it. So they gave it to me. And I've been trying to find out more about him, but anyway, this is a piece, and I don't know how the rest of the play goes. This is just an excerpt from it, I guess. But this is Izzy Figler's Saturnalia. I've never had much of an interest in astrology. My first trip to the Earth's moon was more of an obligation than a curiosity. There was a bachelor party for my pal Meshach 3 at the east quadrant of the Nebuchadnezzar crater on the dark side. They had hired a band, lined up some strippers. Of course, that was no major deal. Strippers were plentiful on the moon, but they found a band of camelopardalists who were notorious for their quote-unquote giraffe shows. Against my instincts to stay out of space, I jacked myself up on Meclizine PM and packed into the shuttle, already cramped with Meshach 3, 7 of his clone bros, none of whom I knew. Some of our fraternity brothers from the Las Vegas Polytech Institute, yeah, go Omicrons. The bride's nephew, Ricky, and a pony keg. The in-flight holograph was some thankfully short interactive nonsense about lunarly transmitted sex diseases starring Macaulay Culkin. Ultimately, Meshach 5 or 7 managed to work that projector to reveal that, like all holograph images, he had no genitalia. Old joke, never fails to get a laugh. Ha ha. Once there, we were greeted by our facilitator, a burnt-out Brit who called himself Waters. You could tell that he had been through the shtick more than enough. Breathe, he said to all of us. Breathe in the air. We basically ignored his religious invocations and asked to be taken to the hotel. Relatively new, the place still had the stench of cheese coming up from the floorboards. Luckily, the party up in Meshach 3's room was about to start. All the sooner I could get home, I thought to myself. Now his suite was definitely more swank than my own room. Anti-gravity tub, bubble-level digital wall screen, ice maker in the door of the fridge. Woo! He had booted up the Hubble brand telescope pointed at Saturn. I took a peek. It's ochre. The band was already playing, though as usual, it wasn't a band, but 7 DJs, all playing different tunes simultaneously. They called themselves Light Fuchsia Barber. On the upside, they did have a laser show. Bring out the okapi, yelled one of my old fraternity brothers, though I don't know which one. Funny, 4 years with these guys, and I tell you, the Meshachs are more distinguishable. Enter Cassiopeia. Now, she was pleasant enough to look at, but her gigantic tits were lumpy and pointy. It was clear that she was a victim of a Mexican boob job, where after that silicone ban, they started filling the breasts with hard sucking candy and little toys. They called it Piñata's Revenge. Cass, as she liked to be called, proclaimed she was a freshman studying Latin. I don't know if she was practicing or had some weird language fetish, but she insisted on speaking in Latin axioms like a Roman fortune cookie. Ab abusa ad usum non vale consequentia, she cooed to Meshach 1 as he spanked her across his knee. What the hell are you saying? He replied. Caveat viator, she stuttered between moans. Give me a go, barked Meshach 3. I'm getting married. Ooh, fortuna favit fatuus. This goes on for a while. When my turn comes, I don't know. I prefer picking at the beef jerky pre-sliced on a silver platter in the kitchen. Come on, Marvin, I'm getting married. Grab a slice. No, I'll pass, guys. Just then, the crowd of boys, no doubt rolling with some local drugs picked up in the hotel lobby, began chanting, "Marvin, Marvin, Marvin, Marvin. Hey, what are you guys on anyway?" "Oh," one of my fraternity brothers answered, "Zapata del Diablo, pure phenodextrohydrocordo, dude, woo!" "Marvin, Marvin, Marvin," they continue for a really long time. Even the DJs sporadically chime in, heads nestled on their shoulders, spinning all the while. "Marvin, Marvin, Marvin." By now, Cass is looking a little Cindy Sherman-y, mascara running, half smile, her mouth like a red-lined black hole. The look on her face is sad, dejected. Then she stumbles close to my ear. "Insanus omnis furere credit ceteros." She was right. I needed to get out of there, and I did. But that was 5 years ago, almost to the day, December 16th, 2003. Now I look out at Saturn's rings and follow the grooves looking a lot like a phonograph record. I think I begin to smell methane and ammonia. "Betty, is there a leak in our outer shell?" She takes a hard look at me for at least 30 seconds. "So, are you saying my ass is wide like Titan, or are you taking a shot at my acne scars by comparing me to Mimas?" "Come on, Betty, I was just trying to be friendly." But she caught me. I had nothing but a procreative interest in Betty and was trying to score while remaining true to myself. "Yes," I wanted to scream to her, "you're as oddly shaped as Hyperion." Instead, I mumbled something about the asteroid belt, wondered if this year would ever end. Then doing the calculations, I answered my own question. No, not for another 28.46 years. I think I was the only one who knew that today was Saturnalia. While not necessarily interested in partaking, I fled my place of comfort in pursuit of orgiastic debauchery and hedonistic idolatry. Instead, I found ice and deep layers of liquid hydrogen. The colony was bustling with industrial activity, and all I could do was follow the rings with my eyes. Y2K. Why? Why? Why 2K? That's what the Romans are saying right now. Why not Y2 capital M? Must we eternally battle the Greeks? Why Y2K? But phi. Let them have the Armageddon. Let them have the pagans that try to make it to Las Vegas on I-15, but it's backed up to Baker at midnight, so they toss off their clothes and dance around the Bun Boy thermometer, chanting 40, 40, 40, 40. Let the Greeks have the next millennium in the hands of those living on nothing but spam and shotgun shells underground for weeks. Wonder how that will affect the genetic pool. Let them rule the Mad Max metropolis. That's out. That's out. Okay, that was my own piece. Thank you. Here's the wacky thing. I'm over at, doing the banned books reading at the room right across the way. And that was, if you missed that, which I'm guessing most of you did, was very sparsely attended. Okay, anyway, it was a thing presented by the ACLU, which would explain why many people weren't there. A bunch of lefties, you know. But some of us were there, and we read books of other people that had been banned by libraries and school districts, etc. It was a wonderful evening. I forgot I picked Shel Silverstein, who's really neat, and yeah. So anyway, as we were kind of walking out and stuff, I found a book by, believe it or not, Izzy Figler. Well, I didn't have my library card on me, so what I did was I ran over, I had about 50 cents, so I was able to copy 5 pages out of Izzy Figler's book. And the book is entitled Metafiction for Dummies, and dummies is spelled D-U-M-M-Y-S, which only makes sense that the entire series should be spelled that way, but I digress. Now, I had the pages from Izzy's book, and I read them. I really liked it a lot. I came back the next day, and the book had been checked out. And every time I come back to the library, tonight included, the book is still gone. It's missing. Now, I checked with the records, the lovely librarian, and let me say, they're all foxy. I mean, now I know why I spent so much time here when I was a kid. I mean, they are hot. It's the same librarians that were here when I was here, but they're still very, very hot. A little older, but hot. Okay. No record of the book. Spooky? Yes. I'll answer the question for you. It wasn't rhetorical. Okay. Now I'm going to do, I'm going to alternate. I'm going to just read out of his book. And, you know, it's kind of an autobiography. And enjoy. Chapter 1, Hebrew National. I'm in the process of writing a tell-all book about the Uber conspiracy. Now, some of you may not have heard that word Uber before. I know it's a little scary. It's German. The best definition of the word? Actually, I'd like to start over. No, I won't. Okay. Yeah, I actually am. I'm so anal. God, it sucks. Part 1. Chapter 1. See, it's the hard piece. I never learned how to do that. Okay. Whatever. I'm in the process of writing a tell-all book about the now that you may not know the word, it's German. The best definition of Uber, well, you know that feeling you get late at night, snug in your bed, out of nowhere, kind of a shiver, and then you say to yourself, ooh, It's like that. And basically, my book is concentrated on the fact that all the conspiracies in the world, while important to dissect, are actually cleverly planted misdirections, red herrings that the ubiquitous they would like you to slop a little sour cream on and eat at cocktail parties with Ritz brand crackers. But friends, not everything truly tastes better on a Ritz. Just ask the boys at the Circle Jerk. Now, some of you may not have heard that word ubiquitous before, and I suggest to you that you place your Japanese-made Sony PlayStation joysticks to the side for half of a full second and begin learning big words. We don't have time to talk down anymore. You will not survive in the neighborhood fallout shelter on the milk of Tetris, Nintendoners. Well, in actuality, you probably can't survive on the milk of words like ubiquitous either, but at least you'll be able to describe your horrible suffering with precision. Now, the contents of my book, while placed in a fictional setting, are all too real. Actually, it's all fiction. Nothing in it is true, except, of course, for all of it, it is all true. Know, however, that there may come a time when you actually believe me when I say it is all true. That is the joke. Congratulations. You got it. Humor, a very effective tool for masking what you have to really say and at the same time saying what you really need to mask. Do you understand me? Are you getting the drift? Wink. Now, while I may sometimes or not pretend about the truth and or falsity of some parts so that I may plausibly deny the contrary if ever visited by someone who understands what I am actually saying, so for the aforementioned reasons, know that this is all really fiction, depending on what side of the mirror you're looking at it at. That said, if you ever see me in front of a crowd of people with a microphone, you should always push your way in so that you could hear an excerpt from my book. Do not be disappointed if you only hear an excerpt. I only read self-contained excerpts because my time is limited. My only form for expression is the open mic, like this one. I don't care, poetry, comedy, karaoke, my message will be heard. So whether I phrase it in terms of free verse, punchline, or Neil Diamond songs, know that your chance to hear me is limited. And that's a good thing too, for too much of my message, too many of my words in one sitting is arduous to comprehend for an uninitiated mind. Are you with me, Sega zombies? Maybe you should even take little breaks. Maybe I should too. Maybe you should even take little breaks where you listen for a bit and then go to the snack machine. Leisurely choose your treat. Open up to see if you are an instant winner. Ride the full Zen wave of the better luck next time disillusion. Fill out the second chance sweepstakes and then come back to the fold and hear me. You can spend the rest of your day piecing the pie together. Now, for the record, my free excerpts are not teasers to get you to pay full price for the complete book. However, I will take $29.50 from you now as a sign of good faith and true belief in the promise of my words, unless you are Canadian or paying in Canadian money, and then I will require 83.95 pounds. This is not based on any current monetary rate, but a plain and simple dislike of Canadians. Oh, the book, yes, the book. Well, there's only one copy right now, and it's all up here in my head. And there have been some problems mass producing it. Number one problem, the original title, Harry Potter and the Temporal Sphere of Naughty Magic. I don't know how they found out about that before I even told a soul. Well, actually, I do know, I just can't tell you yet. But I received a very intimidating looking letter. It had a watermark on it. It told me to cease all my work, and then in what could only be categorized as spite, I was superfluously told to also desist all work under this title based on a treaty of international trademark and copyright law signed at the Berne Convention. The Berne Convention. As an American, I am most certain that I could avoid any inconvenient provisions in any so-called international treaties. And I'm sure I read in a fairly recent issue of the Utney Reader, who doesn't sue, by the way, that the US still sentences minors to death for imitating television violence. Where's the linen bond paper threats on that? But fine. I don't have the patience for bureaucratic roadblocks, so I renamed the book Harry Potter and the Mystical Snot Rag. Guess what? Another letter. Apparently, the Harry Potter part is the sticky point. Now, I don't even know who Harry Potter is. I haven't read any Harry Potter books. Since legal embroilment, I have taken the step to look at the cover of Time magazine. Ostensibly, Harry Potter is some kind of flying bunny or something, and I could care less. There are no flying bunnies in my book. Well, there was one bunny who had the power of flight, but he lost it. It was a metaphor. Actually, he was simply a disoriented guinea pig with a severe thyroid condition. Now, if you successfully read the last line like a circa 1972 Woody Allen, it will mean that you have solved level 1. Only 3 to go before you see Bill Clinton naked. If you fail to do so, don't worry, there are 2 other portals on this level. Check Gamer Secrets magazine for more hints, but do not, please, do not tear the plastic cover. Security is watching. They are dressed like humans. My Harry Potter, on the other hand, was sort of a tribute play on Harry Morgan, who played Colonel Sherman Potter in MASH, and also beat his wife when he was in his 70s. So I changed the title of my book to The Truth About Cats and Jews. It is a novel based on the true story of the Illuminati, which in turn is a fictionalized account of a romantic liaison between Henry Kissinger and Bette Midler in 1972, which is loosely based on a VH1 Where Are They Now segment on the cowboys from the popular Pace Picante salsa commercial. Chapter 1, Shuttle Diplomacy and the Bathhouses of New York. Okay, I'll take a little break there on tongues get a little hot. Reading prose ain't like reading poetry at all, ain't it? No, says the crowd. It gives me great pleasure to hear my own voice amplified. Thank you. It gives me almost equal pleasure to introduce a good friend to you, a good audience, filled with good friends and good strangers. Good stranger, meet my friend Gregory Crosby. Gregory, as many of you may or may not know, is a writer in long-standing here in the Las Vegas Valley area. He is currently serving as editor over at the citysearch.com.lasvegas.what'shappeningbaby. You better believe we got the information for you. .love.love.sex.marvin.heybaby.com. At least that's how they answer the phone when you call. Gregory also has 2 chapbooks which were received so well that they're out of print now because they were just sucked up by the populace so interested in getting them all. And Gregory also is married to a delightful woman named Joan, who he proposed at this very event last year at the Double Down Sloan. I was told I was not in attendance, although I was on the poster. Sometimes disappointments happen.
Is it my intro yet?
Ladies and gentlemen, Gregory Crosby.
Hello, I'm the word in edgewise. These are a series of very short poems, except for the one that isn't. Having a good time out there?
Yeah!
We can't hear you. Actually, I just did it so I could get my flask.
You could do better than that.
I suddenly have the urge to do an Andy Kaufman bit. These are several very short poems. Little hymn to night. Even with your face turned away, I yearn to live inside your gaze. This is called Temple. Love the blue spark, your vein, blue under the temple, temple of lightning, blue lightning, forked like trees, the branches of trees. I am held in those branches, the arms of your blood, in the blue arms of your love, fixed beneath your skin, the arm of your heart's lightning, blue spark of love beneath the temple where my kiss falls like a pause in the thunder of your pulse. Oh, that's not necessary. This is entitled The Back Seat. And for an instant, hands out the window, bent by the force, awe and sunlight streaming through new fingers formed in that reckless crucible, our wonder at the smearing, rushing world, the terminus upon thin wrists, joy's pure, wavering shadow. This is called Valentine's Day 1995, and as Bob Dylan would say, it used to go like that, now it goes like this. And simply, shyly, as easily as she enters my arms or catches my glance, my lover hands me flowers. Not roses, but the deep, supple gleam, like waves in strange seas of irises. Mundane, miraculous. Like reaching out to touch the swells of a Van Gogh, quick, before the guard notices, and finding it's only paint after all. This is the first poem I ever wrote. It's called Radio Free Blonde. Radio Free Blonde, I'm in love with your hair, spread out like a crippled rhyme over a crisp hospital pillow, sanitized white. It makes a wonderful crinkle sound from the weight of my kiss. Tonka for Dr. Slepian. Through the doctor's back, a bullet for life pierces. Good Christians rejoice. Did John Brown's bloody hand guide the sniper's black, bloodshot eye? What the hell? This is entitled, Later, She Married a Banker. Even after, ever after, her eyes retained their color, a pale green further paling to translucence, a green the hue of desert holly, its pointed leaves almost whited out in sunlight vanishing against their own shadows, the shadows swallowing their own casters like faint stars reversed. Faint stars reversed. but not, of course, in their courses. And this is a little longer, and much better than the preceding ones. This is entitled Valley of Fire. The white domes at noon. Thought and memory drift down soundlessly off the wind. We feel them before we see them. Two ravens who know their park, their restaurant a rock a few yards from the table. They are ravenous, of course. They give to our speech while we give back only squawks, our attempts at them. I throw an apple that bears my marks to be devoured by such different mouths, black steeples split, voiced with rattle and caw, more complaint than prayer. A sharpened prayer, then, pointed, meant to be overheard. The sun is in it. They are only omens of themselves, not ambassadors of creation, nor our inventors. Still, I stare into them as if they were looking into us. I am human and cannot help it. These are not the same ravens as before, not eternal. My words are the mimicked language here. They peck, tear the apple down to its core, trading quarks to each other. Who is eavesdropping here? Sated, they turn in that awkward two-legged way, quickly lift up toward a draft, floating like cutouts, dark windows in the screening, dubious blue that is theirs. I reach for a fresh apple. Who, precisely, is the ember above this landscape of frozen fire? Who is the ash, which rising swiftly falls with the heat's diffusion, the ever-cooling, dwindling world and its justification?